You made everyone laugh. Then you drove home alone and felt nothing. Not sad, not relieved, just empty. Like the joke was real, but you weren't inside it. If that landed somewhere in you, stay. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't what you think this is. You know that thing you do at parties? Someone's tense or awkward or the conversation is dying, and without even thinking about it, you say the thing, the observation, the joke that's so precisely true that the whole room exhales. You watch their faces open up, and you feel useful, safe, like you earned your place in the room for another few minutes. And then you drive home and you sit in the car. Not because you're sad exactly, it's not that clean. It's more like you performed something all night and forgot to feel it yourself. You're the last person anyone would think of as struggling. You're the one other people text when they're struggling. And you have nobody to text, because how do you explain it? I'm the funny one and I'm not okay. That sentence doesn't even make sense to people, so you don't say it. You say, I'm fine, I'm just tired. And tired is the one true thing in all of it. Here's what nobody tells you about why this keeps happening. Most people assume that funny people use humor to escape their darkness, like the jokes are a door out of the pain, a way to not feel it. But here's what the research actually shows, and what comics, writers, and therapists have known for decades. The funniest people don't see less darkness than everyone else. They see more of it. More precisely, more completely, with more detail. The joke is not avoidance. The joke is diagnosis. When you name the absurdity in a situation, the uncomfortable truth everyone's dancing around, you're not running from it. You're the only person in the room who looked directly at it. You're not using humor to escape the pain. You are using humor because you are fluent in pain. And here's where it breaks your heart if you let it. You've been taking the most intimate thing about you, your ability to see clearly into the dark, and translating it into punchlines so other people can feel better while you stay in there alone. You believe making people laugh keeps you connected. You also believe nobody actually sees you. Those two things can't both be true, unless the humor itself is the wall. By the end of this, you won't have a list of coping strategies. You'll have something more useful than that. You'll understand why the humor keeps coming and what it's actually been asking for all this time. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's something that happens specifically at night, usually between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., that people with this kind of depression almost always do, and it's the exact thing cementing the loop. I'll tell you what it is in a few minutes. Here's the psychological architecture of what's actually happening. The brain has a built-in threat system. Its job is to scan for danger and sound the alarm. In people with depression, especially the high-functioning, high-humor kind, that scanner is running at full sensitivity all the time, not for physical danger, for social danger, for rejection, for being too much or not enough, or finally being found out. Humor evolved, in part, as a social bonding mechanism, a way to signal, I'm safe, I see you, we're on the same team. When you make someone laugh, you're temporarily neutralizing the threat system in both of you. This is why you're good at it. You've been practicing since you were young. For many people who develop this pattern, the humor started in a home where something unpredictable was happening. A parent who was emotionally volatile. An environment where you learned to read the room before you could read a book. You became the family's emotional barometer. You learned to diffuse, to redirect, to make it lighter, and it worked. It still works. That's the cruel part. It's not a broken coping mechanism. It's a very effective one. The problem isn't the humor. The problem is what it prevents. Everyone says this. If you're depressed, you should be able to tell people how you feel. Therapists, articles, well-meaning friends. Just open up. Just be vulnerable. Just ask for help. And you've probably tried. You open your mouth and a joke comes out, and people laugh, and the moment's gone. This isn't weakness. This is neurobiology. When your nervous system has learned that directness is dangerous, that being too real creates distance or discomfort in others, humor becomes the safer dialect. You don't choose it consciously. It chooses you. You can't just decide to stop being funny and start being honest. You have to understand what the funny is protecting first. And here's the smaller myth, the one nobody mentions. People assume that someone who struggles emotionally must be bad at reading other people. The opposite is usually true for this group. High-functioning depression often comes with an almost obsessive accuracy at reading emotional states in others. You walk into a room and you already know who's uncomfortable, who's performing, who's about to cry. You just can't apply that same precision inward. Jordan, 34, was known as the funniest person in his office. His coworkers called him the group chat guy. Every Monday, without fail, he had already named the exact absurd thing everyone was feeling. In meetings, one observation from Jordan and the whole room would loosen up. His manager told him once, "You could make a funeral feel okay." Jordan said, "Thank you." Then he drove to the parking garage and sat in his car, not crying, just sitting. He'd been doing that for 2 years. Nobody knew about the parking garage. The thing Jordan eventually understood in therapy 2 years after that conversation was this: his ability to name what everyone else was feeling came from a childhood where reading the room wasn't optional. His father's moods were unpredictable. Jordan learned early that if he could make his dad laugh before the mood turned, the night went differently. He became fluent in other people's emotional states because he had to be. The humor wasn't a gift. It was a survival skill that outlived its original danger. And once he understood that, he stopped being ashamed of the parking garage. He started being curious about it. So, that thing I mentioned, the thing people with this pattern do between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., it's reviewing the day's interactions, not for anything specific, just running the tape, going back through conversations, checking, did I say something wrong? Did that land badly? Were they annoyed? It feels like self-reflection. It's actually self-surveillance. And the cruelest part, people who do this most often, they're not checking because they're insecure. They're checking because somewhere underneath it all, they desperately want to be known. Not performed at, not laughed with, known. And they're going back through the tape looking for the moment it almost happened. That want, that ache, is not a symptom. That is the healthiest part of you. Your humor is not a defense mechanism gone wrong. It is a precision instrument built from years of watching closely. The problem was never that you were too funny. The problem was that you became the translator for everyone else's pain, and nobody ever handed the dictionary back to you. You have been fluent in darkness for years. You just haven't been allowed to speak it directly. The parking garage isn't a symptom. It's where the real conversation has been waiting. Step 1. Name the wall, not the wound. This week, when you catch yourself reaching for the joke in a real moment, just notice it. Don't stop it. Don't perform not doing it. Just say to yourself, there goes the translator. You're not fixing anything yet. You're just beginning to see the mechanism. Awareness before action. Always. Step 2. Find one person to speak plainly to. Not everyone, not in public. One person, one conversation where you try a sentence that doesn't have a punchline. It doesn't have to be heavy. It can be small. I'm actually kind of exhausted lately and I don't totally know why. That's it. You're practicing the dialect you've been avoiding. Step 3. Redirect the 1 a.m. tape. When you're running the day back and your brain is checking whether the performance worked, write one honest sentence about what you actually felt during the day. Not what you said, not how it landed, what you felt. This is not journaling. This is interrupting the surveillance loop and replacing it with something that actually gives you data. You didn't come here because something was wrong with you. You came here because you have been the funniest, most perceptive, most emotionally generous person in every room. And at some point, you realized the room never quite filled back up. That's not a character flaw. That's a person who learned to give everything outward and never built a door inward. You were never broken. You were just fluent in the wrong direction. The humor is real. The darkness it came from is real. And the part of you that kept showing up, kept making it lighter for everyone else, kept sitting in parking garages alone rather than burdened anyone, that part was doing its best. It can rest now. If something here found you, there's more where this came from. Stay.